What's up, Barnhill family, and welcome back to your home for all things combat sports.
Yo.
Guys, we have a signature Barnhill Brothers deep dive coming your way today. We are going with the co-main event for UFC Freedom 250. Ciryl Gane, Alex Pereira, interim heavyweight title on the line. As always, we're breaking this thing down from a striking, a grappling, and an intangibles perspective. And we always start, Nick, with the striking.
That's right.
So let's get into it because I think this might be the larger segment of the three that we're going to discuss today. I don't know. Maybe you've got something up your sleeve and you think this thing is going to be a grapple fest, but that would surprise me. So when you think about these guys, right, they're both known for being electric strikers, but very different strikers. Ciryl Gane can finish people, but he finishes them with really good accumulation. He's very fast. He's extremely fast for somebody who fights at heavyweight. Got a great jab, moves a lot, bounces, is light on his feet. Alex is a little bit more flat-footed. He walks forward a little bit more methodically, and he relies on heavy power shots, really good leg kicks, the signature hook that he's become famous for. So while both of these guys are great strikers, they get the job done on the feet very differently. So let's break this down first. You're the striking man yourself.
Yes, sir.
You've got to be excited for this one.
Oh, I'm so excited. I feel like this is going to be the highest level heavyweight striking that we've ever seen. We know what to expect out of Ciryl Gane. He can't find himself in anything but title fights. And the ability that he has to just engage on his own terms and avoid any sort of firefight or any sort of sticky situation that he doesn't like is so high level. He knows exactly where he's safe, how to, basically attack and get away. He's got some really tricky blitzes. He's got a super long jab that he knows how to time and throw from a disruptive standpoint as far as tempo is concerned, but also he kind of fights with his hands down, so it's even harder to read, right? Like I was saying a couple weeks ago, fighters that throw their hands from up here, it's a little bit easier to see because it's closer to your eyes. But when somebody's bouncing and moving so fluidly and then they just pop it up in the air from basically down by their waist, it's very hard to get a read on. And Ciryl does it just about better than anybody at heavyweight. And yeah, this one's so fun for me because Alex Pereira does so many things so well also. And the first thing that sticks out in my mind is the fact that most of this fight will likely take place in the open stance. Alex, we know he's brilliant with the calf kick. He's very good at getting to the outside of the lead hand, getting away from the power, and he can chop that kick really well. It's sort of like a pendulum kick. And he can not only place it on the thigh, which is the classic leg kick, but now he's finding really good ways to attack the calf with it. I think that's going to be a very interesting tactic for Alex moving into this fight with Ciryl. But Ciryl also does time blitzes really well, and if he's able to time Alex on those pendulum steps where you're slightly off balance, you're kind of putting yourself in somewhat of a compromised position, not as far as the power is concerned, but if somebody's picking up on the timing, they can blitz and kind of catch you while your base is compromised. So I think that's an interesting aspect. And then the first thing that sticks out to me in this fight is who's going to control the range, because Ciryl Gane is not quite as decorated of a kickboxer and a Muay Thai guy as Alex Pereira, but I'd venture to say he has a better chance of winning this fight in the kickboxing range than Alex does. Alex, ever since he's come to MMA, of course he's great with his kickboxing range. I don't want to take anything away from it, but he really is the best inside boxing range when he's slipping and moving and throwing with both hands and really mixing up the inside boxing, not even dirty boxing range, but just traditional boxing range. He's so good there. And so it speaks volumes to how good Ciryl Gane is in the kickboxing range, because I assume that the very decorated veteran from kickboxing in Alex Pereira is going to look to avoid kickboxing range as much as possible against Ciryl Gane. And that sort of brings me to how both men should approach this fight as far as systematically breaking one another down. I think that both of them need to start with their leg kicks. Alex Pereira is really good, like I said, with the calf kicks. If you're fighting in the same stance as him, he sends that back leg and he times it really well. If you wind up in the open stance, which we know Ciryl switches stances, but I think most of the time he's going to be in the open stance with Alex, Alex will be able to get to the outside and chop that leg. But Alex needs to be slightly closer to land that shot than Ciryl needs to be to land his favorite kick to the leg, which is the oblique kick. the push kick to the front leg. And that is one of the most brutal shots that anybody can throw in the sport. Some people have been calling for it to even be removed from the set of strikes that you're allowed to do, right? People think it's just so devastating. We've seen people get kicked in the knee, it hyperextends the other way, and then boom, their career's over. But it is allowed. And so they're not taking it off the table. And it's something that Ciryl Gane times very well. He times it well because he stays in a bladed stance. And while Alex obviously can throw his calf kick very well against anybody, whether they're square or bladed, if they're bladed, it's a little bit easier to hit and do devastating damage with,
because you're hitting the meat of the calf. It's more exposed to you.
Right. The shin bone, naturally, it goes down the center of your leg, but it kind of directs inward.
Yeah.
And so the calf muscle, the shin muscle, sort of gives you a place to land that kick better. And it's better on a bladed stance fighter to throw that kick. But Ciryl stays further outside, and even though he's bladed, yes, that might be more open, but he's also better with that karate style push to the leg. And I look back at Alex Pereira's last fight, wherever he was fighting Ankalaev, and he came in real heavy pressure, walking forward. Weight was kind of in the front leg. Of course, he's got his good base, and he knows how to transfer the weight back and forth. But when you get heavy in that lead leg and somebody starts to push that oblique kick and really starts to stomp down on it, it can cause a lot of damage. It can cause a lot of trouble, and it can kill your confidence for how you're going to approach closing distance on a guy. And so that was the first thought I had whenever I saw these two, and I watched all their fights leading up to this. Both men can obviously find their targets anywhere from the head, the body, the legs, but I think both men would be served if they could systematically break their opponents down from the ground up. Yeah. Alex needs to find the calf kicks. He needs to work that beautiful body jab that he has. And then eventually, once he's got Ciryl guessing as to where he's going to attack, that's when the headshots will become more available to him. Same thing can be said with Ciryl Gane. He's got to do that push kick. He's also got a beautiful jab to the body. He's really good at timing it. And like I said, his hands are down here, so he throws it, and it's kind of hard to read if he's going high with it or if he's going to change levels a little bit with the jab and go low. And then, of course, Cyryl's blitzing ability is what's very impressive when he goes to attack the head. He's really good with like lulling you into this bouncing thing, and then all of a sudden out of nowhere he jumps in a little bit further, and he's got a long reach. He's able to find his target. And while Alex Pereira has great head movement, especially on in the inside when he's boxing and moving around, he does tend to get a little bit tall and move straight back in a line when somebody does throw offense at him. Now, he's able to roll with punches really well. He's able to turn his head. He throws that shoulder up, almost like a modified Philly shell for MMA. But Ciryl Gane is able to find really clean shots straight down the pipe. He's not afraid to put that two behind his jab, which is another aspect I'll get into after I give you the mic back. But I think that Ciryl Gane's, if he wants to have success landing on the head, he's going to have to start from the ground, and whoever controls the leg kicks and then the body attacks will likely have more control over who lands the most devastating shots, which would be to the head.
And before we get back into this video, guys, quick shout out to our friends over at Diamond MMA. If you train at all, you know how important it is to protect those precious family jewels. I'm a dad, and I'm not done having kids yet. And Nick, he hasn't even started, but we're still looking for a lovely lady for him. Too bad this channel's 97% male. But seriously though, Nick and I were so thrilled when Diamond reached out for this sponsorship, because Nick and I were customers for 8 years before this ever happened. If you take training seriously, whether it's jiu-jitsu, MMA, baseball, hockey, you name it, Diamond is an absolute must for you. So shout out to Diamond MMA. Back to the action. Yeah, super solid assessment there.
Thank you.
So I agree with pretty much everything you said. The first thing that stuck out to me when I'm going back and watching fights was something that we've talked about with both of these guys in videos when we've done for them in the past when they had other opponents.
Sure.
And that is that they both get, well, Ciryl fights very chin high.
Yes.
Ciryl fights with his hands down very chin high.
Right.
Why does he get away with it? Because he's got great head movement and he's got even better footwork, and he can move around and get out. So yes, is there susceptibility there because the chin's high and the hand's low and Alex has got crazy power? Absolutely. But Alex also gets chin high, and it's not throughout the entire fight. It's only in the backing up. So
Right.
Alex likes to throw in the pocket. Boom, boom, boom. You know, he'll look for that signature hook. He'll set it up with a jab, look for the hook. He'll pendulum that front leg. And then as soon as you start to blitz, he gets very tall and he backs up. And his hands, while they stay up, they do come down a little bit and his chin pops up. There's clear room there for him to be clipped. Now, who has more one-punch knockout ability in this fight? I believe Alex. And I believe that's evidenced in the fact that even though Ciryl has been competing at heavyweight and he's not been weight cutting and he's just been showing up fully hydrated and fully ready to rock on fight day, and Alex has been cutting weight. And now, as we can see now with how big he is, pretty extreme weight to get to 85. And the power still was there 24, 36 hours later. I do think that the one-shot knockout power is going to favor Alex. And so my concern then becomes, does he look slower? Are the punches more labored? Yeah, of course the power is going to be there, but the quickness is just as important, if not more important than the power. And I'm watching him in these training videos and him cracking pads, and I'm thinking to myself, he doesn't look any slower. He's still cracking pads just as fast. He's still landing punches just as fast. So I think that the power and the speed is going to be there for Alex. Biggest and most important thing to me for the striking, for Alex to win, and this would, the opposite of this would be true for Ciryl, is that cage cutting is paramount. Now, if you watch Alexander Volkov versus Gane 2, the second episode, if you will, Gane had some trouble with the way Volkov was backing him up in cage cutting. Volkov's very tall. He might be the tallest heavyweight competing today, maybe Talison Teixeira. But, Volkov is very good with maintaining composure, working behind a jab, and backing his opponent up. Now, he doesn't have nearly the power that Alex has, and he doesn't have nearly the speed or shot selection that Alex has.
Right.
But he did a good job of getting Cyryl's back against the cage. Tom Aspinall, I believe, is a better striker than Alexander Volkov, but when you watch the few minutes that we got to see of Tom versus Gane, we saw Tom be a little bit rushed with his attacks, and I think he will clean that up if he ends up facing Ciryl next. But Tom came out and just was going for the gusto. Big shot, boom, boom, boom.
Right.
And, it was a little bit telegraphed. It was, I don't want to use the word sloppy, but it was a little bit
chaotic.
Yes. Very good choice of word there. And so Ciryl in those moments, with his great footwork, is very easily able to get out.
Right.
Circle out. And that's what he's going to do. Cyryl's going to use all 25 feet of the big cage.
He engages on his own terms, right?
Exactly. He is not going to step into the fire with Alex without doing it on his own terms.
Right.
And so Alex, I think to his advantage, is very good at cage cutting. So if you watch the Magomed Ankalaev fight, he backs Ank up. He comes straight across the cage. I'm not making the same mistakes I made last time. And he backs him up and throws those shots. And it may sound crazy to you for the kickboxer, but I believe that Alex's safest position in this fight is in the fire, is in boxing range.
Sure.
Because Ciryl doesn't really have that one-punch knockout ability. Now, can Ciryl land the right shot and drop Alex? 100%. This is heavyweight fighting we're talking about here. But I think it's more likely that Alex would deploy that and land it onto Ciryl. Now, Ciryl is going to find those rangy shots. He's got a significant reach advantage. And at kickboxing range, that's where Ciryl can start to open up with the kicks and stuff like that. So I think Alex really needs to work on getting inside intelligently, use that jab, use that calf kick to try to slow down the legs of Ciryl a little bit, and intelligently cage cut, because once he's inside, he's taking shots, but one thing about Alex is he rolls with shots really well.
Yes.
So while he may get hit in the face, he rolls with it. So he's taking some of the force off of the opponent's shot, and then when he rolls here, he comes back big there.
Right.
It's almost think of like a slingshot. I'm pulling it and letting it go, pulling it and letting it go,
Right.
which is why it's really important for him to let that backhand go. When he lets the two, everybody always knows Alex for the hook.
Yeah.
But the hook is best found when he lets the two go.
Right.
Because then the hook is boom, it's right there.
Right.
And, when he's in that pocket and he's moving, that's when he's dangerous. If he's just here with the jab, with the hook, with the calf kick, he's going to be in that range that Ciryl loves to play in. So biggest piece of advice, not advice, who the hell am I sitting here giving Alex striking advice? The biggest thing that I'm looking out for Alex that I think he will have success with if he uses is that backhand.
Yeah.
Throw that power and get yourself inside and then start to roll with the shots. That's where, if you remember, Tai Tuivasa hurt Ciryl Gane in that close range, and Tai is no Alex Pereira. I think we can all agree on that.
Yeah, he's got heavy hands, but he certainly isn't as skilled as Alex. With Ciryl Gane, what you see is what you get. He never changes his game plan and his style for any fight, and he's constantly in title fights. So whatever he's doing is working, irregardless of the eye pokes and all the stuff that's gone on. He's very good at controlling fights. It's interesting to me that arguably the most decorated striker in the sport, in Alex Pereira, is likely going to have to be the one that modifies the game a little bit for this fight. Ciryl is going to do what Ciryl does. Stay on the outside, jab, use that footwork, look light as a feather as he's bouncing around, chop the legs, oblique kicks. He'll throw a body kick every now and again, but for the most part, he loves stomping and then looking for his weird time jabs. He's also, like you were saying, very good with those looming punches when he does decide to throw them. So a couple things that stick out to me is Ciryl Gane obviously is going to pick up on the fact that Alex Pereira has a tendency from his kickboxing days where he takes one step back and he has his guard up still, but it kind of leaves his face and it comes out here. In 4-ounce gloves, you don't have the luxury of such a big glove being able to block punches or get in the way of a looming shot. Ciryl Gane, whenever he does decide to blitz and knows Alex is going to take that 1 or 2 steps back, needs to put a long hook or a long overhand around the guard, because that could wind up catching Alex Pereira. As we know, if there's one thing that he does that I would critique, it would be that he moves straight back in a line when somebody is attacking him. And one thing Ciryl does very well when somebody's attacking him is he moves laterally. He's out of the way and usually finds the weak side to escape from.
Yeah.
So he's not dealing with the power punch. He's not dealing with the big kick.
But the weak side for Alex is the hook.
Yes.
And so that's a factor, right?
It's definitely dangerous, and Alex would have to find it. But again, it's harder to hit an open stance, a lead side hook, because of the nature of the anatomy, right? If your hand's up here and we're constantly having this hand battle and you go this way, it's just this little motion that can block the hook.
Yeah.
So that's why I also agree with you that the power hand is something that Alex absolutely needs to bring into this game. And again, I'm not saying that Alex needs to change the fighter that he is. He can go out there and win with his exact style. And I actually think he's a more versatile fighter. Like, he can stay on his back foot and stay kind of tall and bounce just like Ciryl, and then find his long strikes and chop the leg and stay behind his jab, send it high, send it low, and just pick people apart. But against Ciryl, who does something very similar to that, you kind of have to change the game a little bit. You can't just go out there and play the same game, or else we could be, as fans, in for a very long, high level, but potentially boring fight, right?
Yeah.
Open stance can be damn ugly if you don't know what you're doing, or if somebody's not willing to, bite down on the mouthpiece and start to mix it up a little bit and change angles. So Alex actually has the better chance at mixing things up, right? Yeah. And I love that you said he needs to let that backhand go. I couldn't agree more. Alex Pereira is most dangerous once he finally transfers weight into his lead leg and he's in range and he's able to start slipping. We all see the training footage and we all see how he does on the mitts. When he's slipping he'll throw a jab and slip one way, throw this and then slip down the other way, and he can find great angles within the pocket. I don't think that Ciryl Gane would be able to avoid all of the power shots that we saw. Like, think about the Khalil Roundtree. Khalil Roundtree was doing all right in that fight in the first couple rounds because Alex was staying behind his jab and he was doing the predictable Alex attacks. Kick the leg. Occasionally Khalil would make him miss, and he was jab to the body, looking for the hooks. But as soon as he started in like round 3, throwing that backhand and slipping off it and finding other shots, that's when he started to actually break Khalil Roundtree. And the same thing can be said for the Ankalaev fight, right? He was setting things up with that jab, and once he realized that Ank was kind of ducking down, every time he'd throw the jab, he'd kind of duck down, he threw that overhand. But what was so beautiful about the overhand is that he doesn't throw it at the same cadence of like bop, bop. If somebody's going to throw a 1-2, it's going to go bop, bop. He kind of throws the jab, and then there's a delay on the overhand and how it lands.
Yeah.
And so most people, even if their guard was up for the split second when they assume the shot's coming, it starts to move down a little bit, and then that's where his opportunity is. So I believe Alex needs to come in with a wider arsenal of strikes. I think he needs to throw that backhand early and often. I think that he's going to have to close the distance. And I also think Alex Pereira has the best switch kick in the entire sport of MMA. There's no telegraph on it. He knows exactly how to shuffle his feet and not really give a big tell. You know, when you watch people, especially beginners, when they go to do a switch kick, it's a big laborious jump and then the kick. And by the time you do that kick and land in
coming from a mile away
in the switch stance, a high-level fighter sees it coming and there's no opportunity there. Alex Pereira shuffles those feet so fast you can't even tell. He's usually bouncing and doing something with his hands when he does it. It's very hard to read. I think that he should be willing to throw a lot of head kicks in this fight because Ciryl Gane is not a grappler. And we're going to get into the grappling. It's going to be a shorter segment than most MMA UFC title fights because neither of these guys are grapplers at heart. But I think that Ciryl Gane is not really the kind of guy you have to worry about throwing head kicks and then getting your kick caught and then him following you to the ground. Right, if he was fighting a Gable Stevenson or a Curtis Blades, you maybe don't want to throw so many high kicks because all a wrestler wants is contact with your leg. He can then take you to the ground. Cyryl's not going to look to take him to the ground. He's probably just going to look to block those. And I think it would actually benefit Alex Pereira if he started throwing head kicks and throwing high kicks to get Cyryl's hands from down here to up here. And now he can actually see what offense is coming a little bit clearer. So, I think that Ciryl Gane is going to do exactly what he always does. He's going to bounce. He's going to jab. He's going to try to accumulate damage from kickboxing range and stay real far until he can hurt Alex. Once he hurts him, then he's going to look for those looming shots. If I were to change one thing, I'd say as soon as you can get Alex to bite on one of those feints, and Cyryl's very good with his feints, then we know Alex has that tendency to go straight back in a line and he gets a little bit tall. Ciryl would need to blitz a little bit and extend a little bit further than he probably likes to, but there's some looming hooks and overhands that he could potentially find on Alex if Alex does continue to show that single step back, chin gets tall, back gets erect, and arms kind of just go here. Remember, 4-ounce gloves are so small, anything can reach around them.
Yeah.
And I think this is such an interesting fight. Both men really do have a lot of keys to the offensive striking, but it comes down to who controls the pace, who controls the range, and who can actually make the other one fight their fight.
That's why I can't really give a clear, we usually give, who we think has the advantage in the striking, who we think has the advantage in the grappling, who we think has the intangible advantage.
Right.
This one, I'm so down the middle. I just want to say if the pace is slower and if the range is closer, massively favors Alex.
Sure.
If the pace is faster and the range is further, massively favors Ciryl. And I don't know who's going to be able to dictate what pace the fight is fought at and what range the fight is fought up. I think both guys are going to be trying to exploit the other one in those areas where they have the advantage. So I will just say Ciryl has the advantage, higher pace, further range. Alex has the advantage, slower pace, closer range. Agreed?
Yeah. I think that's fair to say. And if I'm going to give you my advantage for the striking aspect, I think it does belong to Alex Pereira, but just slightly. And it's only because I think that at the end of the day, you take the size away from both of them. I mean, they're both going to be heavyweight, within the heavyweight limit by the time they stand on the scale. Alex Pereira is technically a better striker. He has more weapons. He has more tools. Maybe he's not quite as durable as Ciryl. Maybe he is. It's still TBD as far as how he's going to look at heavyweight. But I think that his ability to go to his toolbox and find that beautiful switch kick, go find that great overhand, go get inside and get in the pocket is going to benefit him because this fight could wind up going all into the championship rounds. This could be a decision heavyweight title fight with the best strikers in the game because it's such high-level chess. I think that once both men who are great at getting their reads, as a matter of fact, it doesn't take Ciryl Gane any time at all to get reads on somebody. When somebody blitzes in, he can usually find a counter within the first minute or so. So I think that Alex really does have to find his ability to control the fight and get it to the range and the pace that he wants it. I'm torn as to who's going to control the pace of the fight because like you said, Ciryl can bounce around and move and keep it kind of high pace and basically a very movement heavy fight. Alex can do that, but at the same time, he likes to kind of get comfortable, find himself in range and stalk you a little bit. But it will be interesting to see whose game plan takes over.
Yeah. So let's move into grappling now.
Okay.
We spent the vast majority of this video, we usually do these about 30 to 40 minutes. We're 24 minutes in and we're not off the striking yet.
All right, we'll make the grappling aspect real quick.
This is, but I think that's kind of the story here. Yeah. That's where this fight is going to take place, on the feet.
For sure.
Grappling. Okay, so two things. Pereira has a fantastic takedown defense. He lands about 50% of the takedowns that he actually attempts, so he can initiate grappling if he wants to. Ciryl Gane earlier in his career was having some success and was playing around with the heel hook, even tried that against Francis. Some people think it cost him the fight.
He's no Walter Walker.
Exactly. I don't think he's going to go back to that and dig in that toolbox. Here's how I see the grappling happening. Ciryl does not have a high success rate with the takedowns.
No.
And he really only kind of plays in these weird leg entanglements when he gets on the ground. He's not really looking to control you from the ground. So here's when and where I see the grappling happening. And I think if the grappling does happen, it's not a great storyline for Alex because it means he got hurt.
Right.
I think Alex can probably get a takedown on Ciryl.
Okay.
If he wants to. I think he can grab a single leg in the open stance. I think he may be able to get, because he's a pressure forward fighter, may be able to get Ciryl against the cage and have some success dragging him down there. But I only think he's going to pull that card if he gets hurt.
Yeah.
If Ciryl lands with something big and it buzzes him, we may see Alex do something to grapple. I don't think that Ciryl is going to look to play around with the leg locks or anything like that we saw earlier in his career. He's going to be locked and loaded in for a striking fight.
Yeah, I believe that Alex thinks he's a better striker than Ciryl, and Ciryl also thinks he's a better striker than Alex.
Yep.
So whichever one does decide to shoot for a takedown and try to get this fight to the ground first is going to be tipping their hat to the other one, saying, look, you've got me on the feet, but at least this is mixed martial arts and I can take this to the ground. But again, I'm not bullish on these boys spending very much time, if any, on the ground at all. And I love what you said about the open stance. We're not going to see Alex, shoot a blast double. We're not going to see him like change levels and go Hamzat Chimaev for a takedown. We're going to see, if we see a takedown attempt, and this would be if Ciryl Gane is picking him apart and frustrating him from a kickboxing outside range. What I could see happening is getting that lead leg close to Cyryl's, throwing something up the middle. Maybe it's a lead uppercut, like a shovel uppercut, and then grab that lead leg and then run the pipe and try to get Ciryl to fall down based off of no balance. But it's very difficult unless you grew up wrestling. Like, your head has to go to the exact right place when you do shoot that single leg. Like, we see guys hit it beautifully all the time, but it's very difficult to do. And when you're dealing with the highest level striker potentially that this game has ever seen, I just don't see him spending enough time and hours and dedicating enough of his life to grappling to really sell out for a takedown. I think that he would rather be losing on the feet and figure out a way on the feet to get back into the winning column against Ciryl than to sell out for a takedown because he doesn't think he has a chance. It's a confidence thing, and I think that Alex Pereira does have a chance to take over this fight and has a better chance if he's down on the scorecards to win the fight on the feet than if he were to take Ciryl Gane down. Because remember, offensive grappling may be the most exhausting thing in all of MMA. Defensive grappling sucks for sure, but offensive means you're the one that is going 100%. You're trying to take a guy who's 260 pounds down to the ground, and he's like, if you grab his leg, he's going to be punching you in the face. And if your head positioning isn't just right, if you instead of grabbing a head inside single, if you grab a head outside, even Ciryl Gane with his limited grappling ability knows how to find a guillotine choke, right? So we have to make sure that if Alex does go for some sort of takedown, that he's got his head in the right position, that he runs the pipe appropriately, and he gets the fight to the ground. But I would leave it at a ground and pound scenario from there. I don't think that he should look to advance position because he doesn't have the ability to ride the wave and maintain top position. A guy like Ciryl would work like hell to get up from the bottom and likely find his way back to his feet, only to have Alex Pereira now more exhausted because he just went for what I thought is the most exhausting thing in MMA, which is offensive grappling.
Yeah. Well, and the thing to think about is that Francis Ngannou didn't grow up wrestling, right?
True.
And 4 years ago, he defeated Ciryl Gane in a very close fight, and he used wrestling in the right moments to win that fight because Ciryl was much faster, much more accurate. Obviously, Francis is more powerful. Francis may be the most powerful person to ever fight MMA.
Right.
But even that said, the most powerful person that has the highest registered punch in the history of the sport, Joe Pyfer excluded, he debates that, but I think that Francis still holds it. He utilized wrestling to get Ciryl Gane down and win those moments. So where could I see it? One, I could see it if Alex gets hurt. And two, I could see it, let's say we're 2-2 going into the 5th round. I think we're going to see some rounds in this fight.
Yeah.
You know, if Alex has got a 50% takedown success rate, and we know that you can get Ciryl down, Francis showed us that you can get Ciryl Gane to the ground. Ciryl might not be expecting it in this fight because of the style that Alex brings to the table. Going and taking people down is not really his thing. I could see Alex saying, you know what, he kind of got me in the last round. His jab is finding its range. I need to win this 5th round at all costs. Boom, single leg. I could see something like that taking place. Now, I don't predict
grappling to score points, essentially.
Yeah, exactly. I don't predict that will happen, but because I see Alex having the more potential upside to use grappling, I'm going to give, and he has a much better takedown offensive rate, I'm going to give the grappling advantage slightly to AP.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think he's got a slight advantage. And if I remember correctly, Francis Ngannou used the cage to get some of those takedowns. So again, I don't see these guys spending much time on the ground or cage at all. Cyryl's so good at evading anybody trying to pressure him, and Alex isn't really the kind of guy to force anything on somebody. He'd rather stand and strike. So I'd agree there's a slight advantage, but I think it's going to be a nothing burger as far as the X's and O's of this fight when it plays out.
Yeah. So what I don't think will be a nothing burger are the intangibles, and there's some really interesting ones.
Yeah.
So let's move to that now. Alex Pereira has shown us that his knockdown rate goes up when he goes up weight classes.
Very interesting.
He's knocking more people down. He's knocking more people out at 205. The speed and the power are obviously still there. The other thing, the biggest intangible to me is we've never seen Alex perform without a weight cut.
Okay.
Like I said in the beginning of this video, we've only ever seen Ciryl perform without a weight cut because he's not we know Derek Lewis,
right,
cuts 15 to 20 pounds for fight week. So there's still a weight cut involved.
And by the way, he's fit as a fiddle right now. I mean, just as dialed in as you can possibly be, but that's a topic for another discussion.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And I think he's a live dog against Hokic, but that is definitely a different talking point for a different day. But we've never seen Alex not have to cut weight.
Right.
So how much more durable, and I think about the Adesanya fight because I'm like, well, shit, if Israel Adesanya can knock Alex out, certainly Ciryl Gane can.
Right.
But then I'm like, okay, that was 185-pound Alex Pereira, and now we see how big he is. I mean, what's he, 75 pounds heavier than he was when he weighed in for the Izzy fight?
Something like that, yeah.
So, was his Izzy's, strike just beautifully timed and powerful? Maybe. Or was Alex just really compromised cutting down to 85 because he went up after that fight?
Yeah.
Most people think, when you think about Alex Pereira, he did everything he could at 185, cleared out the division and moved up to 205. No, he went up to 205 off of a knockout loss.
Right.
So, that was what took him to light heavyweight. And now at heavyweight, I think we're going to see a fully hydrated, not depleted Alex Pereira. And I think that's very interesting. I think that's an intangible that we've not seen ever for AP, but we have only seen that for Ciryl Gane. So what is it going to look like when both guys come in hydrated, prepared, no weight cut, ready to rock? And then for Ciryl, I think, the biggest thing is going to be how does he handle the speed? Because I do believe that Alex is still going to have the speed. Ciryl is a very fast guy in a very slow division.
Right.
He's going to be fighting a guy for the first time that has hand speed that can rival his.
Yes.
How does he handle that? Because we talk about Sean Strickland all the time. Why can he fight with his hands like this? Because he has phenomenal head movement.
Right.
Does Ciryl have that type of good head movement, or is it just that these guys at heavyweight are a little bit slower? Because if it's because Ciryl truly has elite level head movement and feet movement, then he doesn't have much to worry about. But if it's because the telegraphing and the speed of heavyweight is not where Alex is, then he could have a problem. And what's that old saying? The most dangerous opponent for you is the champion of the weight class one weight class beneath you.
Yes.
Because they're going to be faster than you and generally more technical, and they're close enough in size to where they can bridge the gap on some of the strength and size advantage.
Especially if they have power like Pereira does.
Exactly. And that's why I think Pereira is my intangibles guy here. I think there's too many factors. We already know what the product of Ciryl Gane at heavyweight looks like. We don't know what the product of Alex Pereira at heavyweight looks like, but I think we can assume that he's going to be more powerful, and more durable.
Yeah, so my intangible is what Alex Pereira is going to come into the cage. We saw him have so much success going gung-ho for Ankalaev, right? And as a matter of fact, he fought Ankalaev prior to that and fought a more slow-paced fight and lost that fight.
Yeah.
Lost his belt and everything. So what Alex is going to come out, because if you have such success against a guy like Magomed Ankalaev, why would you not go try to recreate that same thing? But I do worry that if he does go out there and goes for the gusto and tries to just take Ciryl Gane out in the very first round like he did last time at 205, he could wind up being a little bit gassed out by the time the championship rounds come around, if they do. And again, I just don't see how either of these guys are going to take enough damage early with how calculated and measured they are as far as offensive and getting their reads on their opponent. I think that Ciryl and Alex both need to pack a lunch for a long night in the office, because while both of them can finish a fight in one single shot, both of them also know how dangerous the other one is. And so I'm kind of interested in seeing who or what version of Alex comes out. If Alex comes out and goes real hard early on, Cyryl's just going to move, right? He's just going to evade and force Alex to look like he's walking forward, which could wind up looking good on the judges' scorecard if damage isn't one of the higher on display things, right? If it's more about octagon control for the early rounds, then that would likely favor Alex Pereira. And but I think that Alex might end up questioning himself, and it all comes down to his mentality. Like, okay, I'm going to be this much heavier than I was in my previous fights. Will I have the gas to go later in the fight? Because I'm torn, right? I feel like Alex has the ability to win the early rounds, but I also can see a way where Ciryl Gane can sort of run away with the early rounds because of his footwork and his ability to evade shots and frustrate his opponents who are trying to finally get inside range and establish some pressure. But his footwork is so good, and he's never willing to engage on their terms. He's always willing to engage on his terms when he feels comfortable with it. And if we see Alex Pereira down on the scorecards, do we see him get a little bit more risky and take a few more chances, which could ultimately be a big price to pay against Ciryl Gane? I don't know. I mean, it's really hard to say, and this intangible is interesting to me, but I do want to give that aspect to Ciryl Gane, because I think that, again, it comes down to game plan. Ciryl Gane knows how to control a fight, and I don't see him changing one thing in his game plan for Alex Pereira. I do see Alex Pereira, however, utilizing a few more tools, doing things a little bit differently than maybe we've seen him do in the past. And that's why I think that the early rounds and who wins those is largely going to be predicated on who can control the range and the pace of the fight. And like I said, Ciryl doesn't engage on somebody else's terms. So I think that he's going to control the early rounds of the fight, which are going to mean Pereira needs to conserve a little bit of energy early on and then really come out strong in rounds 3, 4, and 5.
Well said. And I think we should leave our prediction for Fight Week, where we will make our official predictions on all the fights of the UFC White House card. And this will be no different. I don't know which way I'm leaning yet. I think this video is a perfect synopsis of the fact that this is an extremely close fight, and these odds are literally pick 'em, basically.
Yeah, I feel like this could be a fight of the night if these two really start to throw down and we get into the later rounds. Or it could be a fight that casuals don't exactly love, but hardcore fans and deep divers like us really sink our teeth into, because this could be the highest level heavyweight striking that we've ever seen in MMA, and I predict that it will be. And sometimes open stance can lend to be a bit awkward and funny to see, because all the shots that are usually there in ortho versus ortho are just thrown out the window, and everybody's game plan has to change a bit. So I'm leaning towards these guys being very exciting in this fight, but at the same time, I know how measured both of them are going to be for that interim title, a shot to win an undisputed title eventually one day at heavyweight.
There we go, guys. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, it's one thing you can do to make sure when we do put out our best videos, they will be shown prominently in your feed, and it helps Nick and I out tremendously to grow this page and this channel. So we thank you for that, and stay tuned, because we are coming out with another deep dive. Ilia Topuria versus Justin Gaethje, the main event. We're going to break it down just the same. That one will be out next week. Until then, have a wonderful day.
Peace.